Hi guys, it's Olive. Today I would like to do a review of The Tsar of Love and Techno by Anthony Marra. This is a new release. It just came out in October of this year, 2015. I have to apologize, I do not have my own copy of this book. I had it out from the library and incurred massive fines because I did not want to let go of it. However, I am planning on buying this when the paperback is released. The front of this book, as well as the marketing of this book, claims that this is a book of short stories. And while that is technically true, these are interconnected short stories to the point where I just want to call this a novel in short story segments. This book is, of course, set in Russia, Anthony Marra's forte, as well as my wheelhouse. It starts in St. Petersburg in the 1930s during Stalin's Great Purges. The first story starts with a man who is a Soviet censor. He is a painter who goes back to old paintings or photographs and edits out people who have been purged, arrested, etc., to essentially erase them from history. You first see this man approaching his sister-in-law to assist her in erasing his brother from her photographs in order to protect herself and her son. This man is also tasked with erasing his brother from family portraits, erasing his own brother from history after his brother's arrest. This obviously deeply affects him, having to erase his brother from history. So in order to deal with this trauma, throughout all of the images that he is asked to censor, to erase people from for the party, he inserts images of his brother. He inserts his brother as a child into pictures, inserts him as a man, and then inserts him as he imagined he would have looked like as an elderly man. Although this censor gets away with inserting all of these images of his brother into very important photographs, he makes a very critical misstep. As he is airbrushing the image of a ballerina, he is removing her from the photograph after she has been arrested. He leaves her hand dangling in the air and leaves it there. For some reason, he feels compelled to leave that hand floating there. This is a misstep that is a catalyst for events that take place throughout the remainder of that story, and then each subsequent story is connected somehow to that first story. You end up hearing about the descendants of the ballerina who he was airbrushing out of that photo. You learn about people who were then connected to those descendants. You learn about an artist later during Russian history who was studying this censor and his insertion of this mysterious man through all of these Soviet images. These stories weave and intertwine in a way that is so incredibly beautiful, almost as graceful as the ballerina that he writes about in the first story. My Russophilia was in full form while reading this book. I was slowing myself down because I did not want it to be over so badly. The first story, I was nearly hyperventilating. I was geeking out so hard. When I went to Russia, I was really insistent on getting into the Smolny Institute. I really wanted to take a tour of the Smolny Institute, which was first a boarding/polishing school for girls built by Catherine the Great, but then was used as Soviet headquarters before they moved the capital back to Moscow. Other people wanted to go see the party scene. I just wanted to get into the Smolny Institute. Thank God I had some friends who spoke better Russian than I did, because we eventually got a tour of the Smolny Institute, which was one of the coolest experiences of my entire life. I swear this story has a point. When we were inside the Smolny, I got to see the original marble Constitution of the Soviet Union. You can imagine the geeking out that took place. Right across the hall from that Constitution was a big image of the Russian Revolution. It was a painting of the Russian Revolution, and there you could see Lenin, you could see Stalin, although he wasn't really there, and then you saw a big black patch where Trotsky was at one point. I had known that there were censors who went back and erased people from these photographs, but to see it up close was a life-changing experience. In Anthony Marra's acknowledgments at the end of this book, he mentions a lot of books that he consulted for research, all of which were already on my TBR. But one of the books on there that I'm particularly interested in is The Commissar Vanishes, which is specifically about this erasure of people from history by removing them from images. That book has quickly shot back up on the TBR. I really have rediscovered this enthusiasm for that time period. I'm looking forward to reading all those books. But back to the Tsar of Love and Techno. I laughed during this book. It is hysterically funny, and Anthony Marra understands the Russians in a way that I hope to more someday. I do think I understand a little bit about what it means to be Russian, and Anthony Marra is on that same journey. I feel like it is so much fun to read a book by someone who has the same passions as you do. I would love to have a conversation with Anthony Marra someday. I feel like it would just be both of us like sitting down for coffee freaking out about Russia. So yeah, not only was this book funny and full of Russianness, but it had these heartbreaking elements at times. There was one section where a character was going to die. You already knew that she died, but then you're hearing about the time period up to the point where she dies, and there was one line that I posted on my Instagram, if you're interested in, that it was like somebody punched me. I read it and I was like, ugh, and I had to put the book down. My heart just broke into two. So this book is funny and it's heartfelt. It is magical in the way that he intertwines everything. You really get a sense of the Russian people because it goes from the 1930s and then you go up until about 2011, 2013. In the culmination of this story, you are getting such a large view of Russian history. If you do not know anything about Russian history and are looking to kind of ignite a passion within yourself to read more about Russian history, read this book first. I really hope that the reading of this book will ignite a passion for people to read more about Russian history like it has reignited my passion to read more about Russian history. To say the least, I think this book was a real achievement. It is now one of my favorite books of all time. It is certainly the best book set in Russia that I have ever read. I am really looking forward to seeing what Anthony Marra does next. I liked this book even more than I liked his first book, A Constellation of Vital Phenomena, which is primarily set in Chechnya. The Tsar of Love and Techno does have elements that take place in Chechnya, but it bounces back and forth in a really cool way. I highly recommend this book. I personally gave it 5 stars. It would probably be a faster read for anybody else who was reading it. I was trying to savor it as much as possible because I was enjoying it so much. It is a fairly short book. You could get through it pretty quickly if you wanted to. If you'd like to chat about this book or have any other comments in general, you can leave it down below in the comments section. I am also on both Twitter and Instagram at @abookolive, and the link to my Goodreads is down below if you would like to be friends. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. I'll see you next time.